Good day, students. You are welcome to English language class. Today's topic is question tag. Question tag. It's one of the interesting topics in English, and questions always come out of this topic, and that is why it's important for you to take note of this topic, question tag. What is question tag? A tag question is a construction in which an interrogative fragment is added to a declarative or an imperative clause. What do I mean by interrogative clause? They are the questions or statements that are added at the end of a declarative statement, and these statements are added in form of question, and that is why it is called question tag. What are the examples of question tag? You are a man. That is a statement. That is declarative. You are a man. And the question tag will be, aren't you? You are a man. You look at the auxiliary verb in the statement to ask the question. And here, the auxiliary verb is are. That is why the question will be, aren't you? There is something I want you to pay attention to in question tag. If the statement is in positive form, the question tag will be negative form. Or if the statement is in negative form, the question tag will be in positive form. And most times, when question tags are asked, they are used with abbreviation of auxiliary verbs. Abbreviation of auxiliary verbs. For examples, are not will be abbreviated as aren't. Will not will be abbreviated as won't. Should not will be abbreviated as shouldn't, and so on and so forth. So in English language, there are rules. There are ways question tags are used. There are some ways we can apply these question tags we are talking about. Number one, I've explained to you the other time that if the affirmative is positive, the question tag will be negative. For example, Mr. Ade is here. Mr. Ade is here. That is positive. Why do I know that it's positive? It's because not is added to a negative statement. So there is no not in this statement. Mr. Ade is here. That is the statement which is in positive form. Then the question tag will be, isn't he? Because Mr. Ade is a man. So the question tag must also agree with the gender. It must agree with the verb, and so on and so forth. So the question tag in Mr. Ade is a man will be, isn't he? Now let's look at some usage of a question tag. How are question tags formed in sentences? That's what we want to look at. Or let me call it the rules of question tags in sentences. Number one, if an auxiliary verb is used in a statement, it has to be used in the tag question too. I said it the other time that auxiliary verbs, verb to be, verb to do, and verb to be. Now it could be an auxiliary verb. Let me generalize it as auxiliary verb and modal auxiliary verb and primary auxiliary verbs. If the two of them are used in a statement, the question tag, the auxiliary verb must also appear in the question tag. Let me quickly remind you, verb to be, such as is, are, am, were, was, and so on and so forth. Verb to do, such as does, do, and did. Then we have verb to have, such as has, have, and had. And we can have modal auxiliary verbs such as can, we can have could, shall, should, will, would, and so on and so forth. If all these ones are used in the affirmative, the question tag, it must also appear in the question tag. Let's look at the example. The house you bought was built. The house you bought was built. In this case, there is main verb, there is auxiliary verb. So we look at the auxiliary verb in the statement, which is was. Then the question tag will be wasn't it, because you are referring to a house, so it is to be used. So it will be wasn't it. The house you bought was built. Wasn't it? That is rule number 1. When an auxiliary verb is in the affirmative, it must also appear in the question tag. Another rule or another usage of question tag is that if there is only a main verb in a statement without helping verb or auxiliary verb, the question tag is formed with verb to do. If there is no auxiliary verb in a sentence, if the verb is the main verb, so when you form the question tag, you use verb to do. What is verb to do? Examples: there, do, does, and did. For example, if the statement is Promise likes to do a lot of sports, in this case, Promise, the subject, is singular, and it must also agree with the verb, the auxiliary verb, which should be what? Singular. So Promise likes to do a lot of sports. The question tag will be doesn't she, because in the statement there is no auxiliary verb, so verb to do must be replaced. If the statement is the boy bought a house yesterday, the boy bought a house yesterday, since there is no auxiliary verb in this statement, you replace it with the auxiliary verb such as didn't, because it's a past tense. So you say didn't he, because a boy, didn't he, the boy bought a house yesterday. The auxiliary verb will be didn't he, because it's past tense, and so on and so forth. Let's move to rule number 3, or usage number 3. If the statement is a request, if you are requesting for something as an affirmative, you will use we or would in the question tag. If the statement is in affirmative form, will or would will be used as a question tag. For example, pass me the sugar. Pass me the sugar. That is a request. Then the question tag will come in negative form. I told you the other time that if the question or if the declarative or the affirmative is positive, the question will be negative. If the affirmative is negative, the question will be positive. And negative is used with words such as not or never, and so on and so forth. So in this case, the statement is positive, which is pass me the sugar. Then the question tag will be won't you. But if the statement is don't pass me the sugar, the question tag will be will you, and so on and so forth. Rule number 4 of question tag, or how question tag is used. If the request includes let's, like you want to make a request using let's, anywhere let appears as a statement or affirmative, shall is the suitable question tag. So shall should be in the question tag. For example, let's go. Let's go. Then the question tag will be shall we. Let's do it. Shall we? So that is the best thing. So that rule is very important that you must pay attention to. Whenever you see let's, you know that the question tag will be, it will have shall we, let's go. shall we, because you are many. That's why you make use of we. Now let's move to the last but not the least of the rules of Concord. Although there are lots of rules, but let's limit it to this. Whenever there is used, or there are is used, in order to show that something exists, there is something, there are something. The there is also needed to be applied in the question tag. There is needed to be applied in the question tag. Let's look at the example. There weren't a lot of things left are the same. In this case, you see that the statement is in negative form. There weren't a lot of things left at the same. Now the question tag will be were there. Because of the usage of there in the statement, there weren't a lot of things left at the same. So the question tag will be were there. So it's very important that there appears in the statement. So in our next class, don't forget that there are lots of ways to ask questions in sentences. We have polar question, which requires either yes or no. We have WH question, which always starts with WH, except the exceptional case of how. WH such as who, why, we, why, when, whom, where, and so on and so forth. We have question tag, which I've taught you today, and we have a rhetorical question. So whenever you ask any question, don't always forget to put question mark. Thank you for today's class, and don't forget to do your assignments and do it very well. Have a wonderful time. Bye.